Imagine waking up tomorrow to a single headline: elephants are extinct. No warning, no final goodbye, just gone. No herds crossing the savannah, no footprints in the dust, no distant calls at sunset. It sounds impossible, but humanity has already witnessed this once. Not with elephants, with mammoths. They survived ice ages. They lived beside early humans. They walked the earth longer than our civilizations have existed. So why did they vanish so recently? What really killed them? What did the last mammoths endure before the end? And could science ever bring them back? This is the true story of the giants we lost. Mammoths were not one species. When most people say mammoth, they picture one creature, a giant woolly elephant with huge curved tusks. But mammoths were not a single species. They were a whole family of giants, shaped by different climates and landscapes. Some were massive. North America produced one of the largest, the imperial mammoth, a towering animal that could reach around 5 meters tall and weigh up to 14 tons. But other mammoths did the opposite. On islands with limited food, mammoths shrank. Dwarf mammoths stood closer to human height and weighed a fraction of the giants. Most mammoths were roughly elephant-sized, but built differently. Compared to modern elephants, mammoths were stockier. Their legs were shorter, their bodies were heavier, and their fur was not decoration. It was survival. But nothing defines the mammoth more than one feature: those tusks. The tusks that recorded a lifetime. Mammoth tusks were not just bigger than elephant tusks. They were extreme. Some reached 5 meters in length. Some weighed more than 100 kilograms. They grew from the upper jaw, curving forward, outward, and up, like two enormous blades. Even newborn calves had tiny tusk buds. Within months, they emerged. And as the mammoth grew, the tusks grew faster. Young males could reach several feet by age 10. In adulthood, tusks thickened and extended year after year. Old bulls carried tusks so long, they nearly looked impractical. But they were used constantly for fighting rivals, for defending the herd, for digging through snow to reach buried plants. That's why many fossil tusks show damage. Chips, cracks, worn edges. Tusks were tools, and tools leave marks. Here's what makes tusks even more incredible. They store information, like tree rings, tusks as time capsules. Inside a tusk, growth forms layers. Count those layers, and you can estimate the mammoth's age. Study chemistry inside those layers, and you can see stress, hunger seasons, harsh winters, even hormonal changes tied to reproduction. A tusk is not just ivory, it's a biological timeline. And while bones tell us size, tusks tell us life. But for a long time, one question remained: what did mammoths truly look like? Not in drawings, not in cartoons. In reality, what mammoths really looked like. Most extinct animals leave only bones. Bones reveal posture and proportions. But bones don't tell you fur color, skin texture, or the true shape of soft organs. Mammoths are different because some were preserved, frozen in permafrost, trapped in mud, sealed in cold for tens of thousands of years. These remains revealed the details. Mammoths had massive legs, thick columns built to hold immense weight. Their feet were wide and round, Their soles were thick with shock-absorbing tissue, similar to modern elephants, helping them move across soft, wet ground. And their ears? Much smaller than you'd expect. Mammoth ears were tiny compared to elephants. They lay flatter against the skull. They lost heat slowly, an advantage in freezing wind. Now, the fur. Mammoth fur was not one layer. It was a system. A long, coarse outer coat, a dense middle layer, and a soft undercoat that trapped warmth. Some had long hair hanging down the sides, almost like a skirt. Their colors varied from light brown to yellow-brown. So yes, they really did look like the mammoths we imagine. But that leads to a big misconception. Are elephants their descendants? Are elephants their descendants? Many people think mammoths evolved into elephants. That's not how it happened. Mammoths and elephants were close relatives, but one did not become the other. Their closest living relative today is the Asian elephant. They share a common ancestor, dating back millions of years, likely in Africa. So mammoths weren't older elephants. They were their own successful branch. And for a long time, they dominated the cold north. The woolly mammoth spread across an enormous range, from Western Europe to Siberia, from Alaska to Canada. They survived because they were built for their world. So what was that world like? And how did they live inside it? How mammoths lived. A mammoth's life was built around one thing: food. They were strict herbivores. Grasses, shrubs, moss, twigs, plant shoots. But their needs were extreme. A large mammoth could require around 250 kilograms of plant matter every single day. To survive, they spent most of their time eating, often up to 18 hours daily. They moved constantly, searching for fresh feeding grounds. Their teeth reveal why this lifestyle worked. Mammoths had huge grinding molars made of enamel plates, built to crush tough, abrasive plants. And like elephants, their teeth didn't last forever. Over a lifetime, each side of the jaw cycled through several sets. When the final molars wore down, old mammoths struggled. That's important later, because old age becomes deadly when food is hard to process. But mammoths didn't live alone. Herds, matriarchs, and migration. Mammoths lived in herds, often led by an older female, a matriarch. Females and calves stayed together, protected by the group. Males often lived separately, joining during breeding seasons. Young males formed smaller groups until they grew strong enough to compete. Within herds, bonds were deep. Females helped raise each other's calves. Groups moved like living machines, searching, feeding, relocating, and during seasonal changes, multiple herds could merge into larger migrations. Across the tundra, a moving herd could consume a landscape. But a herd also meant something else. Defense. Wolves, big cats, and ancient predators would think twice before attacking a wall of tusks and muscle. Still, mammoths had conflict of their own, because breeding season changed everything. 5 months when males turn dangerous. In modern elephants, males enter a phase called moth. Testosterone surges. Behavior shifts. Males become aggressive, unpredictable, and bold. Evidence suggests mammoths experienced moth too. Chemical traces inside tusks show seasonal hormone spikes, patterns similar to elephant moth today. During this time, bulls would compete. They would push, clash tusks, fight for mating rights. A moth mammoth was not just a giant. It was a giant under pressure, with a body flooded by hormones. If elephant musk can be dangerous today, imagine a mammoth bull in musk, on an open plain. Now here's the real mystery. If mammoths were this successful, why are they gone? The slow extinction. Mammoths didn't disappear in one moment. It was a slow collapse. As the last ice age ended, the world warmed, glaciers melted, sea levels rose, rain patterns shifted, and the mammoth's perfect habitat, cold, dry grassland, began to transform. Wetland replaced steppe, marshes spread, forests advanced. The plants mammoths depended on declined across huge regions. That meant less food and less space. Mammoths began disappearing in different places. At different times, Europe lost them first in many areas. Then parts of Asia. Then North America. Eventually, mainland populations collapsed. But some mammoths survived in the last possible places. Islands. And one island became the final stage of the mammoth story. 30 Wrangel Island, the last refuge. Wrangel Island, far north, became the final refuge. Here, mammoths survived until roughly 4,000 years ago. Think about that. Human civilization was rising. Cities were forming. The pyramids already existed. But these mammoths weren't the same giants. They were smaller. Island dwarfism. When food is limited, smaller bodies survive more easily. But size wasn't their worst problem. Population was. Only a few hundred mammoths lived there. Too few. Inbreeding increased. Genetic diversity dropped. Harmful mutations accumulated. Genes that once worked began failing generation by generation. Some mutations likely affected smell, others reproduction, others fur quality. If their fur thinned or became less insulating, Arctic winds could become deadly. And with every generation, their survival margin shrank. They were trapped in a genetic corner. Wrangel Island wasn't just a refuge. It was a slow trap. So was it climate? Was it humans? Or both? 30 humans vs climate. People love the image of humans hunting mammoths into extinction. And yes, humans hunted mammoths. But hunting a healthy mammoth with primitive weapons was extremely dangerous. Mammoths were huge, armored with thick skin, protected by herds. Many researchers believe early humans more often targeted weak, injured, or young individuals. Modern studies strongly support a bigger driver: climate change. As environments became wetter and warmer, the grasslands collapsed. Food disappeared. And for an animal that needs hundreds of kilograms of vegetation each day, food loss is fatal. Even without a single spear thrown, a mammoth population can fall. If the ecosystem can no longer support it, still, the ending is brutal. Because some of the most famous mammoth remains belong to calves, frozen, preserved, caught in their final moment. Frozen calves and shocking discoveries. Some mammoth calves were found almost intact. Skin, trunk, organs, even stomach contents. One of the most famous was Luba, discovered in Siberia in 2007. She was only about a month old. Evidence suggests she fell into muddy water and inhaled silt, a silent death. Her body froze and stayed preserved for tens of thousands of years. Another extraordinary calf was found in Canada in 2022, also preserved in permafrost. These discoveries are tragic, but for scientists, They're priceless. They reveal mammoth biology in detail that bones can't. Diet, fat reserves, growth patterns, even microbial development. The mammoth story isn't just about extinction. It's also about preservation. Because preservation leads to one question. The modern world can't stop asking, can we bring them back? Can we bring mammoths back? Right now, true de-extinction is not possible. The big reason is DNA. DNA breaks down over time. Fragments remain, but not clean, living genetic material. Scientists can sequence mammoth DNA fragments and compare them to elephants. They can even attempt cellular experiments. But cloning a mammoth from frozen tissue still fails for a simple reason. Cells don't function like living cells anymore. The machinery is damaged. Some experiments have shown brief signs of activity, but no full cell division and no true revival. So what can happen instead? The more realistic idea is not resurrecting a mammoth. It's engineering an elephant with selected mammoth traits: cold resistance, fat storage, hair growth, hemoglobin adaptation. A mammoth-like animal, not identical, but close enough to resemble the lost giants. Even that raises huge questions. Ethics, habitat, welfare, and purpose. Because bringing an animal back is not the same as giving it a home. Final message. Mammoths did not disappear because they were weak. They vanished because the world changed, and changed fast. Their story is a warning and a mirror. Today, species still vanish quietly until the last one dies. And a headline appears. Mammoths remind us that extinction is not dramatic. It's often slow. And once it's complete, the planet moves on, as if nothing happened. The only question is whether we do. The mammoth may be gone, but its story is not finished. Frozen beneath ice, locked inside ancient DNA, it still speaks to us, not as a relic of failure, but as a lesson in balance. Today, science can read genomes once lost to time. It can map extinctions, predict collapses, and, in rare cases, prevent them. We may not yet have the power to bring the mammoth back, but we do have the power to protect what remains. Elephants, rhinos, whales, species still walking the edge of survival. The mammoth reminds us that extinction is permanent, but understanding is not. If knowledge comes in time, if action follows awareness, then loss does not have to be repeated. The mammoth's world is gone, but the future of this one is still in our hands.